This episode is brought to you by SD Sober Living. If you or someone you know needs a safe, supportive recovery home, then reach out to SD Sober Living at www.sdsoberliving.org or call 619-334-9869. That's 619-334-9869. Come get some Fuck Fentanyl and some San Diego recovery at SD Sober Living. This is the Fuck Fentanyl guy letting you know if you or a loved one is injured in a motorcycle accident, then call 1-800-Lawtigers for a free case evaluation. We are available 24/7. That's 1-800-Lawtigers with over $1.5 billion recovered in verdicts and settlements. Nobody got your back more than Lawtigers.
Everyone, it's brought us together. Every lasting scar reminds us how we got here. We scream, everyone, it's brought us together. Every lasting scar shows what it's taken to be who we are. We scream, everyone, it's brought us together. Every lasting scar shows us what it's taken to be who we are.
Yeah, Hate Breed. Everlasting Scar. Fucking good at that song. I'm Luis Romero. I'm the Fuck Fentanyl guy, and this is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. I got my homie Justin on. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Doing great. Doing great. I haven't listened to Hate Breed in forever, so it brought me back some memories. Fuck yeah, dude. Oh, I would love to go to one of their shows.
Oh, hell yeah.
Fuck yeah, man. Yeah, I've known you for a little minute. You know, I see you around quite often, and I've heard really good things about you too. So I'm really excited to have you on, man.
They're all lies.
They're all lies. All right, let's end this. So, man, where did you grow up?
Well, I'm originally from San Diego.
Nice. Fuck yeah.
Lived here until about 9 years old, and then moved up to a little farm town called Sutter, up a little bit north of Sacramento. Yeah, Sutter. And pretty much nothing but like rice fields and orchards as far as you can see.
Oh, fuck.
Lived in a very, very small town.
Damn.
And, you know, did elementary school there and basically, you know, starting like around 7th, 8th grade, you know, like most people or a lot of people, started kind of dabbling with, you know, sneaking beers and stuff like that. You know, I think the first time I ever actually got drunk, I was with my dad, and we sat in the front yard, and he was just like handing me Coors Light. You know,
you like kind of like your supervisor.
Yeah, you know, I was like, fuck. You know? So, anyways, and then, but one of my earliest memories of like kind of sneaking off, like you know, away from like my parents, kind of watching the situation or whatever. It was like a school dance, and so some of us decided like, well, we're gonna sneak some alcohol from our parents, you know, and
all right.
so we get together like before the dance. We're like out on the school playground and stuff, you know. I think I'm in 7th grade, and everyone that I met there, like they'd all snuck like 1, maybe 2 beers. Well, I brought a 5th of vodka.
Whoa.
And
shit.
So, and everybody's like, oh no, we can't drink. Oh, we're gonna be too wasted for the dance.
Right.
Well, I'm just like, well, fuck it, you know.
Wow.
And yeah, you know, we ended up getting in trouble for it, you know, and somebody said something to somebody.
Someone snitched on you?
We ended up getting called into the office, and you know, I got suspended for that and blah blah blah.
Damn.
Got in a little trouble, you know, but it was pretty much just like a slap on the wrist, you know.
Okay.
And didn't really get into any trouble like in like 8th grade. Then my freshman year, or like the summer before my freshman year, you know, I started smoking weed. And so, and I just remember right off the bat, it was like, I love weed. I have to have it every day.
Yeah.
You know, so right away, those addict behaviors of just like obsessing over it and needing it were like very, very present.
Yeah.
I ended up, me and a couple of friends we right after school we went across the street. There was like a baseball park, you know, a little league park right across the street from the high school. We go over there. We're in the dugout smoking, and we get popped by the vice principal.
Okay.
And he calls the sheriffs. I ended up getting expelled from school. You know, put on homeschooling for like the 3/4 of the year. You know? And none of that did anything to like stop me from smoking weed or anything.
Yeah.
And from there, it was just like I was hanging out with pretty much all the kids that had been kicked out of school, weren't really going to, you know what I mean? And we were just partying all the time, you know? And they lived literally, I would like walk out of my house and cut down the alleyway and go in their back gate. Yeah. And they were right there, you know? So I'd just like sneak over there all the time. Yeah. And get stoned, to get drunk and this was pretty much like my whole freshman year, you know? Right. Well, then, going into like sophomore year, kind of the same thing. You know, I was like back in school for part of the year. Well, then my mom found some weed in my room, you know, and she came to the school and like pulled my ass out again.
Oh shit! Made a whole scene.
Put me back on homeschooling, you know. Like, and so you know, I was just like, fuck, you know. Right. And of course that didn't deter me either, you know. I was just like, you know, I pretty much was just a burnout, you know, pothead, and that was all I really wanted from my day to day. Started kind of dabbling with other things, you know, did a little coke here and there. Yeah. I really like mushrooms. Oh, I really like psychedelics. So I did mushrooms and you know, pretty much as often as I could get them.
I never really got into them.
That was my jam for a little bit, you know. And then I ended up moving from that school to we moved to Yuba City, which is a little bit bigger city, probably about the size of El Cajon, about 10 miles away from Sutter, and so we moved there, still kind of middle of nowhere. It's just agriculture around there, you know. There's not a lot to do. And well, then like that was like 2007, 2008. Yeah, ecstasy was very popular.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And so like me and you know my ex-wife, back when we were dating, we started dating in high school, and we did a lot of ecstasy, and then just like I just kind of became like.
Did they look like little characters?
Yeah, you know, all kinds
like
of
Bart
little stamps and little prints and whatever, you know, colors and and that was like my fucking jam, and you know, and I kind of became like a garbage can drug user. I would do just pretty much whatever came across my path. You know, I did a lot of ecstasy. I smoked weed every day. I would drink. Sometimes I'd come across a little coke. Sometimes there'd be some like pharmaceutical, you know, pills or whatever. You know, somebody slipped me a whatever, you know, and I just kind of like, oh, that looks good. You know?
Right. Not even think about it twice.
Yeah. And that was how I went for pretty much my whole junior and senior year. I ended up not graduating school. I got kicked out of that school. Damn. Also because behavior, you know, it wasn't. I didn't get caught like using or drunk or anything like that at school. But I just, you know, I didn't give a fuck about school. You know? I just go and just be there. And at this point, I had actually gotten kicked out of like my family. So my parents had pretty much said, you know what I mean, like you gotta go. Okay. And I had moved in with you know my girlfriend, later to be my wife. Moved in with her family just basically to get to school. Yeah. And I lived with them for pretty much my entire senior year.
Were they okay with you being there?
Yeah, I mean, they allowed it. Yeah, you know, they allowed it. So, and all we did was party and stuff. Me and my ex-wife's older brother, you know, just doing drugs. Well, during my senior year, I ran across meth. Started dabbling with meth. You know, did it a handful of times, and you know, when I would do it, it wasn't just like I would do a little bit. It was like a 3-day nonstop run, and after like that I was like, all of a sudden I'm seeing fucking shadow people, and you know, I'd kind of get like freaked out by it. I was like, whoa. Yeah, you know? And
they're intense at first.
Yeah, and then me and my girlfriend broke up. And I found myself homeless for the first time. Yeah. And I'm running around Yuba City, and there was another city called Marysville right across the river, and I just kind of bounce back and forth and you know, hang out around trap houses and shit, and just do drugs. You know, it was like ecstasy, meth, cocaine, you know, weed and drinking all the time.
All the time.
You know, it was like that was when the first time I did heroin, I was actually high on acid and did heroin for the first time.
Whoa, seriously?
While I was camping, yeah, and it was like I didn't have the intention of doing that. Like we went,
yeah.
So there's a few of us there, you know, everybody, you know, so we got dosed with some acid,
right?
And then there was the one dude there that had some like Rolly cigarettes, and he's standing by his truck,
yeah,
you know, with the door open. And I go walking up, I'm like, hey man, can I get a cigarette? He's like, yeah. You want to hit this? And he's got a piece of foil. I was like, what is it? Once again, I'm a garbage can, so I was like. Sure. You know, here I am tripping balls. I'm like, yeah, I'll try it. Okay. So we get in the car and I take a few hits and I just remember like sitting next to the campfire and like I couldn't move. You know, I'm tripping balls. Like I'm just watching the fire and I'm like tripping out on the woods around me and stuff. But I can't. I'm just like so mellow. You know, I don't even think I really like consciously like recognize the high of the heroin. I just remember being very mellow. Just kind of just stuck tripping on the fire.
Right. Yeah. And you're already pretty busy.
One of my very good friends gave me a lot of shit the next day. She's like, "You fucking heroin addict! I better not ever fucking see you doing that shit again."
Wow.
And I didn't do it for a long time.
Oh shit!
And
yeah, shaming you about that, but everything else is cool.
Yeah, well, you know, and
buddy.
So anyways, you know, I ran around like that for a little while, and then I ended up, you know, I mean, here I am. I'm like 19 years old. I'm fucking homeless.
Yeah.
And so I called my mom. My mom had already moved like back to SD, and I called my mom. I was like, hey, you know, I'm kind of going through it up here. Things are, you know, whatever. You think I could come down there? You know? She's like, yes. So I moved back to San Diego. Right away, I get a job at Taco Bell, and you know, I wasn't really like at first. I wasn't really partying. I mean, I was still like smoking weed, you know, but I wasn't really partying. And then I meet these kids that are like, you know, a little bit younger than me, but like close. In the apartments we lived in, and they're all into ecstasy and Molly and shit.
Oh,
like,
shit.
My people.
Yeah.
You know? So,
let's go.
So it just kind of, I moved down here. I did a geographical and nothing changed.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, I was working. I mean, I worked for, I don't know, like 8 months at Taco Bell.
Okay.
And, but I mean, it was just like party all the time, coke, ecstasy, smoking weed, drinking.
Right.
And then I ended up, one of my buddies from that apartment complex got me my first job in construction.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
As a laborer, I was working for this general contractor building houses down in PB.
And,
nice. So I was making like a little bit more money, and I still like I ended up moving in with them. So not only did I work with him, but I moved in. I rented a room from him and his dad, and I did that for about a year or so. Like me and my homie actually held down his dad got fucking a violation, went back to prison for like 6 months or something.
Really?
And me and him held down the apartment so that he had a spot to come back to, you know.
Right.
And you know, and I think I kind of mellowed down. I had phases where I wouldn't really do as much like harder stuff.
Right.
But always smoking weed, you know. And
always,
so then after his dad got out and everything, like I ended up moving out of there.
Yeah.
I moved back in with my mom, and they had moved out of those apartments and started renting a house over in El Cajon, right off of 2nd Street.
Oh,
and
nice.
so, you know, I moved back in there, and you know, I like during that time, you know, or really any time where I was like living with my parents, you know, my dad was like a, you know, blue collar, you know, heavy equipment operator. Like he drank, and boy, did he drink.
Yeah.
But like anything like weed or anything was like, no,
Nope.
that was taboo. That was
Yeah.
no.
You had boundaries.
Right. And my mom didn't really care. She more cared because I was always like, hey mom, let me borrow $20. You know what I mean? So,
right.
So, you know, but with him, like, and I understand because like one of his older brothers was a full-on heroin addict, like HIV positive, needle using heroin addict.
Right,
you know, so
right.
he had an example of like how bad it could get.
Yeah,
you know, and he just didn't want that for me. So, but I didn't listen to anything like, you know, that he had to say on
Of
the
course,
matter. I was
right.
like, fuck it, whatever, bro.
Yeah.
And,
I'm different.
right. I'm unique.
Yes.
So, so anyways, I lived with them for a little while. I'm working, and me and my ex-wife, like I said before, we had split up. Well, we ended up getting back together. She moved down to San Diego, moved in with me, and she got pregnant like fairly quick.
Oh fuck.
So here I am, 21, and got a baby on the way.
Yeah.
And then so my oldest son was born the day before I turned 22. His birthday is the 12th of December. My birthday is the 13th.
Oh wow.
And
wow, what a trip.
And then like right after that, I had kind of a falling out with my family and la-di-da-di-da, and we ended up living in a hotel for like a month and a half with our newborn son.
Were you guys married at this time?
No, we actually, yes. We got married right before he was born. We got married on the 9th. He was born on the 12th. My birthday was the 13th. Turned 22, so we were like brand new married.
Right.
Brand new baby. We're living in a hotel for like a month and a half. Her father had actually moved to SD, and that was part of the reason why the falling out had happened. It was actually more to do with him than it was to do with like me and my family having a conflict. But when my wife was like, we're moving out, la di da di da, I guess him and my dad, my stepdad, had gotten into it. Gotten into a fight, and like a physical.
Wow,
and,
no shit.
And so she was like, we're moving out. He put hands on, blah, blah, blah. And I was just kind of like, okay.
Right.
So we moved out. Well, and I just remember like during this time when we're like we're in a hotel, we're trying to save up to get an apartment, which we did end up getting. Yeah. And I this was actually like I had some medical issues from all my drug use and stuff, all the doing ecstasy. I started having a lot of seizures. Oh, fuck. I was 21 years old. I was on full disability. They took my license away. Wow. So like here I am like feeling totally useless. Well, what did I do to cope with all my fucking bullshit? I started sneaking money out of whatever we had. I'd get my like little disability, pay a couple of days on the hotel, and then go buy like a fucking 50-sack of Coke and sneak into the bathroom. My wife had no idea any of this was happening. Right. And I'd be like, I'm gonna go take a shower, and I'd fucking do a few rails.
The best time.
Yeah. And so we ended up getting an apartment. And I pretty much stopped, like after my oldest son was born, I pretty much stopped after that. Like I realized where I was, how wrong it was for me to like in the situation we're in, and I'm going and I'm sneaking money for Coke. I kind of realized like this is fucked up. Never stopped smoking weed though.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. But I stayed off of all the hard stuff for a couple of years. We ended up having another kid 14 months later.
Oh my
my sons are 14 months apart. And so we had the place. I ended up getting a job with the company I actually work for currently.
Oh, really?
I got the job through a family friend who, they had a big job going. They were hiring, la-di-da-di-da. My mom calls me. She's like, you got to come talk to this guy. So, and I go, I talk to him. He's like, yeah, you start fucking Monday,
Wow.
So here I am doing construction again.
Okay.
And I worked there for a few years, during which time, me and my wife we're doing the family, doing the husband, wife, daddy, mommy thing,
Right.
And I just looking back, my behaviors, even though I wasn't currently like doing meth or coke or fucking, I was smoking weed. I would drink sometimes,
It seems relatively harmless.
But but my behaviors, I was so sick in myself. All of my self-centered nature was so present, and I was oblivious to it. You know what I mean? Like and it's weird when you're in those modes and you have those tendencies. Like you seem so justified. Right. Well, I act this way because of this, and Well, we ended up obviously, not working out. I remember she was, for some reason, which I didn't cheat on her. Like I wasn't, doing any of that. Like, there was other sneaky stuff that I may have been doing, but it wasn't cheating,
Sure.
Well, we were fighting all the time. She was like sure that I was cheating on her. Anyways, finally I was like, look, I don't know what to do to make you see that I'm not cheating on you. Maybe we should take some time. I ended up moving out of that apartment, moving in with my mom again. We did the whole like split custody thing.
How old
for
were
a
they
little bit.
when this happened?
Shit. I think my oldest was like coming up on 2.
Okay.
So they were still very, very,
Very young.
And so it was like she'd have them a few days a week. I'd have them a few days a week. I'm staying at my mom's, so I've got a safe place for them,
Yeah.
And then one of my coworkers at Hale and Sons Plumbing, this Mexican dude, fucking, I find out he does meth. And I'm like, well, what's up, dog?
Yeah.
Like it's been a while, And so I end up starting to dabble again.
Okay.
And while I'm like doing this split custody thing and trying to like make that work, and me and my mom have like a falling out. And one of the first things that usually happens, depending on the severity of my behavior, is like you got to go.
Right. Usually,
because I'm usually, when I'm in that mode, I'm usually pretty irrational.
Right.
Right. So I end up I end up moving out. I'm living in my car. I can't take my sons with me.
Right. Of course.
And from there, it just kind of goes downhill. I start child support and all this, that, and the other.
Shit.
I'm still like visiting with my sons on the days that like my mom would be babysitting them. You know, me and my ex-wife are both working and stuff like that. So I'd still go like visit with them and stuff. But I'm just getting more and more distant, more and more detached, and into my addiction. I'm starting to spiral. And then after a while, I think it had to have been like close to a year, maybe like 9 months or so of like, I'm living in my car.
Damn,
I'm missing work. I'd literally like sleep outside the job site
Yeah.
down in Point Loma. We were on a big job down in Point Loma for, like 2 years. And I'd sleep outside the job site just to like make sure I was at work. You know?
Right.
And I've got child support coming out of my checks, which I don't make that much as it is. So like my checks were small.
Right.
And I'm starting to dabble more and more,
Oh, shit.
And so after my dabbling turned into like a full-fledged everyday use, all of a sudden the guy that originally hired me, a family friend, like I mentioned, comes along. He's like, "Hey, Justin, roll your shit up. We got to go drug test." I'm like, don't bother.
Save your test.
Save your
test.
I'm dirty. I'll get out of here. He gives me my last 2 checks. La-di-da-di-da. And then the next day after that happened, my stepdad dies.
Fuck.
And I just kind of fucking went off the deep end after that. I was hanging out like on 2nd Street in El Cajon. Like I still had my car, but like I'm just hanging out with all the fucking tweakers in the neighborhood,
And there are many.
Yeah. I'm just getting acquainted with the local wildlife.
Yeah.
And get like arrested for the first time and la-di-da-di-da, just kind of starting off the bullshit.
Right.
And I tried to do yet another geographical where I moved to Colorado, where my biological father lives.
Oh, okay.
Fort Collins, Colorado.
So you were in contact with them before?
Not most of my life. I mean, little things here and there, you know what I mean? But we had kind of established contact, opened up a line of communication, and been in contact for kind of the recent months or even a couple of years. I had been out there to visit for like my uncle's wedding and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, so and he has a history with being homeless and being on meth.
I see.
And at this time, he had been off of meth for like 8 years.
Oh, okay.
He still drank and smoked a little bud, but
Sure.
like he'd gotten away from the dope. So
Right.
I was like, this guy can help me,
Yeah,
he was
yeah.
willing to,
Right.
So I moved out there and I stayed off of meth for about 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Still, I mean, like I I got this job at like a warehouse, like packaging beer on like an assembly line.
Yeah.
Okay. And a bunch of the kids, not kids, but you know, people like my age that worked there, you know, they were all like acid dealers, acid and DMT and fucking mescaline. I mean, all this shit.
Damn.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
So I was doing acid a lot, like a lot. And
how do you focus?
you don't. You really don't. So you know, here I am. I'm like, it's fucking weed every day as always. I'm drinking a lot. I'm doing acid a lot.
Yeah.
Then I find meth with another person from that same job, you know, a coworker, and I start doing meth again. Well, my father was like, "Oh hell no," you know.
Yeah.
He saw me the first time. He goes, "You're fucking high." I was like, "Yeah."
I couldn't hide it.
And he's like, "Dude, you fucking." He kind of rode my ass a little bit. Well, then like after like a few weeks of me showing up high and like or not coming home or whatever, you know, he was just like, "Get the fuck out."
Yeah.
You know, and even though like I was on the lease, like we had an apartment together, both of our names on the lease, and I was just like, "All right, bro," you know. And so then here I am. It's like wintertime in Colorado, and I'm homeless. You know,
fuck.
And I remember the first night I left, you know, because he had actually bought me a car when I got out there, and he was like, "You're signing that fucking car back over to me," and la di da.
Whoa.
So I leave the car there, I leave, and it starts to snow. I'm like, fuck, man. So I stayed for about a month with one of my buddies, and you know, we were using and stuff, and this and that, and I had some court stuff from like I said, I got arrested out here, so I had some court stuff that I had to handle, and you know, whatever. Fairly minor shit, you know, but still I needed to handle it.
Yeah.
And so I ended up coming back to San Diego to my intention was to deal with all that. That was the plan. Anyways.
Yeah, that was the plan.
Things didn't go according to plan. I came out here. I started staying with my grandmother out on Las Cochas Road, right there by the Walmart.
Oh yeah, I know where that is.
And so I go out there and I'm staying there for a couple of months, and I used them and they totally enabled me, you know. And I just soaked up every little bit of anything. I mean, I would just like hit her up for cigarettes and hit her up for money and like run off and go roam the hills up there by the Walmart and buy dope and fucking, you know, like just fucking just a wrecking ball through my family, you know. And then finally they couldn't do it anymore. They were like, you can't be here.
Right.
We can't have you at the house.
Right.
And this kicked off. I mean, I was out there for like 6 years after this. You know,
shit.
Running around Las Cochas Road and like anywhere from there down into El Cajon, like running around 2nd Street. And then, you know, going like ping ponging back and forth. I was living up on the hills around the Walmart, like, you know, had a little camp set up, and I'm getting arrested, like, you know, every other month or so, you know, to the point where like finally they gave, you know, I was a 4th waiver, so now the cops even look at me. I'm going to jail because I have dope on me.
Right,
like, that's a given, so you know.
Yeah,
so
it's gonna happen.
So I'm you know, I'm fucking in and out of jail, and it's always the same little fucking petty bullshit. We want you to do PC 1000.
Yeah, Prop 36.
Yeah, and so, you know, I'd go in, and it was just like just long enough for like me to get out and see that all of my shit has been ransacked and stolen. You know, every time, and
all the time, without fail.
Yeah, and then of course I don't go to court when I get out, so fucking
got a warrant.
Now I've got a warrant.
Yeah,
and it was just like this went on for a few years, you know.
And were you just doing meth?
So at first I was, you know, at first I was just doing meth, but I found the needle.
Ooh.
I was hanging out with a couple of shooters, and I decided to try it.
Right.
And actually, let me backtrack because before I had even gone out to Colorado, was when I first tried the needle. I was seeing this girl who was a heroin addict.
Oh,
and she was into shooting, and and so the very, very, very first time I ever tried IV drug use, it was meth and heroin mixed.
Ooh, damn.
And
wow.
And then I just fell in love with that little fucking prick, you know. And so I started shooting up, and then I left and went to Colorado. So then coming back, you know, I didn't shoot up or anything while I was out there, but then coming back,
Right.
I found, you know, some people that
Right.
did shoot up, and
Right.
and I started shooting up again.
Yeah.
And so for the first probably like 2 years, out of that, it was like 5.5, close to 6 years.
Oh shit.
Before I went to detox, and so for the first couple of years, I was basically just a meth user, and at this point, like for the first time in my life, I had no interest in smoking weed. It was just all about crystal
Right.
meth,
Right.
you know?
Weed's gotta go.
Yeah, you know, so I fucking shooting meth every day, you know, running around. I'm stealing from Walmart. I'm getting arrested for possession, or fucking, you know, got popped for fucking stealing from Walmart.
Yeah.
You know, just fucking running amok, you know, being a nuisance. And my family at this point, they had completely cut me off, which they needed to do, you know.
Right.
And so then, as you know, time's going on, and I start hanging out with this dude. I had met him before, but one night I'm sitting at the bottom of Las Cochas Road, right where Las Cochas crosses Highway 80 or Highway A Business.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting at the 7-Eleven right there, and it's fucking cold, you know, and I'm in like shorts and no jacket, and I've got my arms inside my shirt, and I'm just sitting there fucking trying to sleep, but it's too cold to fall asleep. Well, this dude, he sees me, and he's like, dude, come get in my car. It's fucking freezing out here, you know? Well, this dude fucking was into heroin.
Oh shit.
So I start hanging out with this dude a lot.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd go over there with a little bit of crystal, and he'd fucking smoke me out on some black.
Yeah.
And so we kind of, and at first I thought I was managing it, right?
Yeah,
Because
sure,
I would
sure,
do
of
like
course you could.
I would do like a 3 days on, where I would do heroin for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And then I wouldn't do it for like 3 days. It was
Yeah.
like a 3 on, 3 off
I see.
for like a few months, you know. when
Yeah,
I'm
a
like
little
this.
cycle here.
And then one day I'm over at his pad, and I hadn't done any heroin for a few days, and I've got this sniffles, you know, and I'm like, he's like, dude, are you sick? And I was like, I don't know, bro. Like, I got this cold. It just like kind of keeps on coming and going. You know, he's like, bro, you're fucking dope sick.
Yeah.
Here, hit this. And
It's gone.
And so then I started doing heroin all day, every day.
Oh shit.
Okay.
Just like that.
I never really got into, don't get me wrong, I did do it plenty of times, but I never really got into like the habitual IV heroin use.
Yeah.
I was mostly a smoker. Like, I was one of those dudes that was always doing dabs. I had the fucking little quag, and I'd fucking, you know, like they do with the wax, you know, same thing.
Right.
I'd fucking just be doing dabs and dabs and dabs of heroin.
Yeah.
And shooting meth all day. You know, and just juggling that.
Yeah.
And ended up getting with this girl who was probably the most destructive, toxic force I've ever come into contact with.
Your soulmate?
Yeah, no shit, man. No shit. God bless her. But anyways, like we put each other through a lot. We were together on the streets for about 2 years.
Yeah.
You know, we fucking, I was definitely not innocent. You know, I had my own part to play in our just absolute chaotic life and relationship, and it was just absolute nonsense all the time.
Yeah.
And both of us were high as fucking kites.
Mm.
You know, she'd go to jail and I'd go to jail, and then she's fucking around, and I'd be like, well, fuck it, I'm gonna go fuck around, you know?
Yeah.
And
right.
So we ended up, I like moved my little base of operations down by Lake Jennings. So I'm living for like over a year. I had the same spot right off the freeway, Lake Jennings exit. You know, it was like right on the side of the freeway on the bank right there. And I thought I had it going on. I mean, I had like a fucking 10-man tent, and I had furniture inside. I had a bed, I had a mattress, I had shelves, I had a dresser. You know, we had a dog. We had this little beautiful fucking blue nose pit bull puppy, and so I built a fence out of pallets, and we had a barbecue.
Wow.
And the cops didn't fuck with us down there.
Really?
It was like the one time they did go down there, they didn't even give a fuck about us. They were looking for this dude who had a federal warrant. You know what I mean? So like,
carry on.
yeah, they like literally they pop their head inside the tent. They're like, "Can we make sure he's not in there?" We're like, "Yeah." There's like a Pizzo sitting next to me on the fucking shelf. They didn't give a fuck, bro. So anyways, like I thought I had it made at this spot, you know? And at this point, like I'm selling dope, you know, thinking I'm a little fucking dipshit drug dealer. You know?
Right.
I pick up like an ounce or two, and fucking I had like this little group of fucking homeless people that would come, you know,
of course you would, yeah.
like bring me whatever they got, and I fucking
random
hook 'em
shit,
up, you know, yeah, dude, like fucking there's, you know, little trades and fucking little bits of money that they panhandle for or whatever, you know. I had one dude that I would always trade him like fucking 8 balls for like grams of heroin. So that was my currency for my heroin addiction.
I see.
And I had a connect that would fucking basically front me whatever I needed. Like I'd fucking, you know, and I hopped on the whole unemployment thing during COVID.
Oh,
you know
yeah.
what I mean?
Ooh, that was
so now I've got fucking I've got $900 every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, I'd fucking most of that would go to my connect because I'd have to pay him for the couple of ounces that he fronted me.
Right.
And then, you know, pick up a little more and you know, so and this
that vicious cycle.
This just went on and on and on.
And
yes.
That's crazy. So you got all that money, you're still like just in your little
you know, just in my little boat. And I thought I had it made. You know, there was a couple people come by. They're like, "Wow, we've never seen anybody make a spot like this. Like, this is fucking badass." I'm like, I know.
Woo, yeah,
you know? Yeah. So and then fucking then shit with the girl just it just got worse.
Yeah.
It spiraled worse and worse. She ended up getting involved with this dude, and you know, it was a weird, like, you know, fucking, she would be with him and then she'd like split on him and she'd come to my spot. Now he's like, and this is like some fucking hardcore like prison, you know, whatever. I never been to prison, you know. And there's this like skinhead dude basically fucking threatening to stab me and shit like that. And fucking like all just, you know,
drama,
just all kinds of chaos and nonsense and fucking whatever, you know. You know, there was times when we'd be like civil and you know, whatever. Like I went boosting with the two of them a couple of times. And of course, I'm the one walking out with the shit. You know?
Wow,
So,
really?
Yeah. Wow. You know, whatever. You know, and then I ended up getting away from her, and well, the two of them, but mainly her.
Yeah.
And kind of just running around for another few months. I pretty much abandoned that spot
Mm-hmm.
and fucking just ran amok anywhere from Lake Jennings to fucking 2nd Street, you know, and sometimes like La Mesa. I just fucking bounce around, you know.
Right.
And then I talked to the homeless outreach team.
Oh shit.
And they fucking, you know, because they came down to our spot, you know, and they you know, usually I talked to them a couple times before, and it was always like, sure, I'll take some food stamps.
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
give me something to fucking barter with.
Yeah.
You know. Well, this time they started talking to me about like detox and stuff, and I was like interested.
Oh wow.
At this point I was burnt out,
you
and I was actually like willing to listen to the idea of something different.
Yeah.
So I ended up, you know, they put me on a list to go to McAllister Detox, and it was still a while, and then like I ended up going to jail again, and I was in there for like 2 different fucking cases, and still, once again, it was not for very long. You know, it was like fucking 8 days or something like that, because they you know, they do the 2-for-1 days and shit.
Oh
so,
yeah, that's right.
So it was like 8 days. I had to go to court twice. Then they OR me. I fucking managed to like dodge like a sales charge because they tried to get me. I had a scale and fucking blah, blah, blah.
No
So
shit.
I managed to like fucking get off on that one. You know.
Wow.
And but I and so then when I got out, and you know, you got to go to court like a week later. I actually went for once. And, so I go to the Elkhorn courthouse and I tell the judge, I was like, look, dude, I'm fucking 30 years old. I'm either going to go this way or I'm going to go this way. And I'm really tired of the way I'm going.
Yeah.
Whether you order it or not, like I've already been in contact with a couple of rehabs, and I'm looking at getting myself into an inpatient.
Yeah.
And he goes, okay, well, you've got 90 days to get yourself checked into a 90-day program.
Okay.
And then you've got to show the courts that you completed it.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
It's like, okay,
Cool.
well, that 90 days came and went.
Uh-oh.
So, and it was probably like an extra month or so like past that deadline.
Right.
And I was like right on the edge of, basically like I'm supposed to do this and I want to do it, but like I'm still so sucked up into this just lifestyle.
Right.
I was like almost about to just say fuck it,
Right.
And then all of a sudden I get a call. We've got a bed open for you at McAllister Detox. Can you be here tomorrow? I was like, I'll be there.
Wow.
And I'm walking around the whole rest of the day. I've got like an ounce and a half of crystal. I got like 6 grams of heroin.
Whoa.
I got like a vape thing with
Yeah.
DMT in it.
Yeah.
Whoa. I've got some pills, and I'm just like giving dope away. I'm like, I'm going to detox tomorrow, and I'm just giving dope away to all the people I know,
Wow.
And, like all my paraphernalia. I was always the
You were
dude
the hero.
I was always the dude that had like fucking tons of paraphernalia in his backpack. I'm just like getting rid of shit. You know?
Right.
And I went to detox the next day.
Oh shit.
And so September 28th,
Yeah.
2021 was the last time I did heroin.
Wow.
So I've been off of heroin for over 3 years.
Okay. That's huge.
And I went to McAllister Detox. I did 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
They got me on Suboxones and la-di-da-di-da.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, I went to a program called Pathfinders.
Oh,
And
great
I-
program.
And I was there for about 100 days.
Uh-huh.
That's where I met my sponsor. He's still my sponsor to this day.
Oh, nice.
And like I just do, I finally heard like something along the lines of like a life full of like hope and possibility, not just like the despair that I'd known. Because,
Right,
I mean,
absolutely.
it was just fucking, so I dove into my steps. I started just taking the suggestions and throughout the course of my time there, I started to realize like, wow, I've been the dirtbag problem in my life. You know what I mean? Like the common denominator and all these geographicals and all of these situations and all of these fucking mishaps and whatever, the common denominator is me. Everywhere I went, there I was to fuck it up. Right. So, and I stayed clean that first time around for about 9 months. And then, looking back, I probably did have some reservations, even though I didn't see it at the time, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
And I started talking to this girl who originally, when I met her, I was selling her dope.
Uh-oh.
So, she bought a few sacks off me and whatever, and she'd be a little flirty and fucking whatever. And then I went to rehab. So, like, I started talking to her, like, while I was in rehab, telling her, like, I'm clean,
Right.
And she's like, oh, good for you. I'm so proud of you. And she was, like, a major drinker, and she liked to do a little crystal.
Okay.
So, a few months, several months, 'cause like I said, I got to about 9 months clean. That first time around.
Yeah.
And then she hits me up. She's like, do you want to come over and fucking, da-da-da-da-da? I'm like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
So I go over there and I've got all this intention. And I'm telling her like, dude, I'm doing really good in my recovery.
Yeah.
I'm working a program.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to get high, but I'll come over and hang out. You know what I mean? What's up?
Right.
And,
right.
And so we go, or I go over there and that first night I ended up getting drunk.
Oh, fuck. Shit.
Getting drunk. Started smoking weed.
Yeah.
Every day after that. And at this point, this was when I got out of rehab, I moved into a sober living where Nick, SD Sober Living, Nick,
Yeah.
was managing.
I see.
Okay, and I became really good friends with him. And then right around that time that I relapsed was when he opened up his first house right there on Prospect.
Yeah.
So this was like all during that transition time, like I moved into that house. I was one of the very first people in that house. And then I relapsed and freaking, he kind of gave me some slack, whatever. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I mean, I didn't go like super crazy with the drinking. I mean, I drank like with her, I drank probably a half a dozen times over the course of like maybe 2 months that I was like going and hanging out with her. I ended up getting high with her on crystal, did speed with her like maybe a half a dozen times, both of those. But even when I wasn't with her, like I was smoking weed every day. you know.
Yeah.
And,
So back
and just for everybody listening, California sober is not really a thing.
No.
So I'm smoking weed every day, and my selfish, self-centered, you know, all about me behaviors are fucking right back to the forefront of life, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm working for this dude doing remodels, dude I met in the program. You know, he has a bunch of years of sobriety.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, I was doing good, and then now I'm all baked at work, and I'm making mistakes, and I'm costing the dude money. You know, I'm like already in this kind of destructive relationship with her, and you know, her life is just like spiraling, and she's like kind of sucking me into it, like join me in my misery.
And you're like, sure.
Yeah, at first, you know, I was like, hell yeah, and then I was like, oh no. You know, the last time I saw her, and also the last day that I smoked any weed was Halloween 2022.
Wow.
You know, and this is after like I was still like in contact with my sponsor, and I'm still like going to all the same meetings every week.
Yeah.
And I'm every fucking week, you know, however many meetings I go to, I'm like, newcomer.
Right, yeah.
You know,
Right,
I mean, it got old to the point where like I stopped announcing it. Everybody knew that I was still like, whatever, but I just stopped announcing it.
Just save your token.
You know, and so, but then I was just like, dude, enough's enough. You know, I finally hit that point where like, you know, here I am. I'm back living in my car because Nick, obviously, he when I wasn't stopping, he had to kick me out of that house.
Yeah,
right. I didn't go home for a couple of days, and then during that couple of days, I didn't pay my phone bill. So he was like trying to get a hold of me and figure out where I was, and it was like nothing. My phone's off. You know. Finally, I show up one day, and he's like, "Dude, like I don't know what to tell you. Like your shit's packed up. It's in the garage. You need to come back later to get it because I'm leaving right now."
No shit.
You know, this is when he was still living at the house. And I was just like, fuck, man. And I knew then I was like, I fucked up, you know? And so now I'm like living I had a little Honda, and it's getting cold out, you know. This is November, this is
October.
You know, a couple months before that. You know, my clean date's November 1st, but this is a couple months before that. and I'm just like, fuck, you know, it's starting to get cold out and la-di-da. And, you know, I actually, I once again, I moved back in with my mom for a minute.
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was like working 2 jobs, and I'm going to school, so it looks like I'm super busy and like doing something with myself, but I'm just going right back into that spiral, you know. But you know, my mom could kind of see it. People that I knew from the rooms could see it, and this time, for the first time, like I could see that train coming, you know. And I was just like, I had a lot of fear, and I was just like, fuck this, like I can't do this anymore. I've already spent too much of my life out there. It's been years since I've seen or talked to my sons. You know, they ended up moving with their mom. They're up in Alaska now.
God damn.
And and they're doing great. They have a great life. I have nothing bad to say about my ex-wife. She's an awesome mother. My kids are they want for nothing. They're happy. You know what I mean? Like, I have nothing bad to say. She's remarried. She has like 2-3 more kids with that dude.
Wow.
You know what I mean? They have the fucking family bam going on.
Right.
Right the fuck on. You know, I hope to you know, be in my son's lives, but for now, you know, I just have to keep doing what I'm doing. Right.
Absolutely.
And that way, when it comes time for them to meet me, I'm somebody worth meeting.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you know, I lived with my mom for a little bit. She could see the progress happening, you know, and then she ended up moving out. She was living with this dude. She ended up moving out of there. They broke up, whatever. She moved out of there, and you know, so now I'm in my car. There's like nowhere for me to follow to, you know. So now I'm in my car, and that was when I was like, I had enough. I'm not going back to the streets. And I went over to that girl's house. She was kind of trying to get me to move in, and I was like, I don't see that working out all that well, you know.
Yeah.
And so the last time I saw her, which was Halloween night, she fucking got all crazy on me and shit. And
of course.
I was like,
of course.
fuck this, you know.
Of course.
Ended up blocking her number and shit, you know.
Good.
And so then the next day, November 1st, 2022, I managed to get a day.
Wow.
You know? And it wasn't the first time I tried. Like there was times during that last couple of months where, like, I mean, you know, like I said, I was doing a little speed, I was doing a little drinking, but mostly I was just smoking weed every day. I had to have fucking little weed, you know. and I'd throw my shit out the window, and like an hour later, I'm trying to find it. You know? Like full on fucking tweaker mode over a sack of weed.
Yeah, right.
And so then November 1st, I managed to scrape a day together.
Yeah.
And then I got another one.
Damn.
And I was just going to meetings like every day. And then I got another one.
Wow.
And then and then on November 10th,
Yeah.
I was down in PB at a meeting called the Zoo.
Yeah,
Some of you listeners may know of it.
Some of them.
And so I'm down at the Zoo. It's just a normal Thursday, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, we do the meeting, and then you know, me and a few people are getting ready to go to dinner afterwards. We decide we're gonna go to Denny's.
Yeah.
I get in the car. I leave. It's at the new location right there at the
Yeah.
church, you know, on Thomas. So
Yeah.
I get pull out of the church. I get onto Ingram. I'm headed southbound. I get a few blocks down, going through a green light. Like, I'm not driving crazy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I've got a green light ahead of me. There's not really any traffic on the road
Yeah.
around me. You know, I'm just driving. And my phone's getting ready to die, and I need it for the directions.
Right,
you know?
right, right.
Like I've got it
Find
plugged
the
in
restaurant, yeah.
so that it fucking tells me where to go, but it's like literally on like 1% it's gonna die. And I fucking look away. I've got a green light, you know, I fucking look away from the road for a second to grab my phone charger, and fucking I feel something, boom.
Yeah.
And I fucking like look up, and the passenger side of my windshield's all fucking caved in. I'm like, oh, what the fuck just happened?
Oh,
you know, I've been in a couple car accidents, so like right away I knew it wasn't a car, it wasn't a bike, it wasn't anything made of metal.
Right.
And I fucking pull over real quick. I fucking I leave my car like running and door open. I jump out, I run back, and there's this woman laying on the side of the road. Already there's a couple people like, you know, next to her.
Right.
And I fucking, she's all fucked up, and I was just like, what the fuck, dude? I just hit somebody.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, she did walk out in front of me, you know. She had been drinking. Like, there was like alcohol bottle, little 99 bottles.
Wow,
like
on her.
Like in the road near her, you know what I mean? Like they were maybe in her purse or something like that.
Right.
They'd fallen out, but
They
there was
fell
like
out,
a couple of them in the road next to her, and then like the smashed like top part of a fifth of Smirnoff, like the glass bottle, you know what I mean, in the road with her. And so you know, it was a big scene. Like, the news was there. I called my sponsor right away. I was like, I just hit this girl, and I think I fucking killed her.
Yeah.
I did. She died. She was pronounced dead at the hospital shortly after. But it was this big, drawn-out scene. Like, I had to stay like there. I was questioned by police and the detectives, and they took my car to impound for evidence.
Yeah.
And, you know, all they had to get like you know, footage of you know, like what happened and everything. And they did, like, as far as their investigation, I was not held like criminally liable. One, thank God I was clean and sober.
Right.
You know. And I told him, I was like, dude, I just left a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. It's been 10 days since I've smoked any weed, and it's been even longer since I've done anything else.
Right.
They were like, okay, you know. Fucking, I ended up, you know, when the detective called me to say that my car was being released from impound, I asked him, I was like, so anything on the investigation? And he was like, well, you're not being held like criminally liable, you know.
I see.
So in the law's eyes, like, I mean, you know, I didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
And I had a fucking green light. She wasn't in a crosswalk.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those tragic things. It was like a freak timing thing.
Yeah, accident.
It just happened.
Yeah, it is.
You know.
It's a terrible accident.
And I just remember one of the main things, obviously that whole night stands out to me.
Of course.
You know, but you know, I'd called out of work. I'd called my sponsor. I'd called, you know, Matt and Joy. Matt was one of the people I was supposed to meet for dinner. I called him. I was like, dude, I just got into an accident. Him and Joy took me home, cared for me for a couple of days after that. You know, I was a fucking mess, dude. I was just fucking, I didn't know what to think or say or do, or, you know, but I didn't use over it. And that's the main thing of this story is, you know, I just remember sitting there, and like the news crews are there, and they got the cameras on and shit, you know. So I'm like, you know, it's November, it's cold, I've got a jacket on. I just remember pulling my jacket up over my head, and I'm just sitting in the driveway right next, like literally like 15 feet away from this girl laying there.
Yeah.
It was a gnarly scene, you know.
Right.
And pull my jacket up over my head and I'm crying. And then I remember looking across the street and there's a liquor store.
Shit.
And I remember telling myself, I was like, I'm getting fucked up tonight. You know, that's my knee-jerk reaction to life, right? Even when things are like okay or just like a little frustrating, like I want to get fucked up.
Yeah.
Well, now this just happened.
Right.
I was like, I'm getting fucked up tonight. And like within just like a moment, you know, like a few seconds or a minute or so of sitting there staring at the liquor store, I was like, no, I'm not. You know, and I know that was my higher power doing for me what I couldn't do for myself in that moment. You know, it was just like I did not get drunk that night. I did not go pick up any dope. And that time in my life, you know, that event and how I had to operate to get through all that literally that's where I learned the absolute importance of one day at a time.
Right.
You know, like I'm not worried about what tomorrow is going to happen because tomorrow ain't going to be here until tomorrow. But today I'm not going to pick up no matter fucking what.
Right.
You know, and I didn't, you know, and today I have 2 years clean.
Wow.
You know,
Today. Here, sir. You are the first to come here on your day.
Really?
On your sobriety day.
Awesome.
Fucking awesome. I'm glad you you know, it's funny because we originally had this for a few days ago and it worked out like this.
It worked out, you know, everything has a purpose, you know.
Like, yeah.
And these last 2 years, my life has fucking changed. You know, I mean, I graduated. I went right here to the UEI campus for their electrical thing.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah. And I was like, I'm gonna be an electrician. You know, I like construction. You know, I like working, building things with my hands.
Right. Doing your hands. Yeah.
And so that was my goal. And then while I was going to school, I ended up getting hired back on, like I said earlier, that company that had fired me for using. You know.
Yeah. Right.
Well. Same guy that came to the site and was like, roll up, we gotta go drug test.
Right.
He calls me and he's like, hey man, I hear you're doing good. We got a spot for you if you want it.
Wow.
You know? And they hired me back.
Wow.
Okay? So now I've been back with this company for over a year and a half.
Okay.
Doing really well there.
Nice.
I mean, since I've been back, I've gotten like 3 raises. I'm like enrolled in their 401k, putting stuff away for my future.
Right.
You know, I've financed my first car ever.
Oh,
you
fuck
know?
yes, dude.
I've been in sober living this whole time. I'm actually getting ready to move back into the Prospect House that I was kicked out of to go take over as assistant manager for Nick.
Right.
You know,
Nice. Fuck yes.
Like, I mean, and it's just one day at a time. Things just keep getting better and better and better. You know, I've worked my steps. I attend meetings all the time. You know, and I've got sponsees that and you know sometimes you know I've definitely the amount of sponsees that I have had and the amount that have like asked me to sponsor them, talked to me a couple times, and then I never heard from them again.
Quite a ratio
compared to like the ones that have done some work, done some steps, stayed sober for a little while. Yeah, you know, there's definitely a difference there.
Right, absolutely.
But the important thing is, and this is the main, you know, this is the main thing is through all this, I've stayed clean, and so I'm there in the rooms for the next guy who needs help to whether it's me or somebody else, you know what I mean, to share my experience, strength, and hope, to share my message. This is how I got through this. This is how I got clean. This is how I've stayed clean one day at a time, you know, for this long. And you know, I'm all about service. You know, I try to, at least one meeting that I regularly attend, I try to keep a service commitment.
That's great.
I talk to my sponsor all the time. Usually in the morning, we both get up early for work. So it's usually like in the morning before we start work. We're like, what are you doing today?
Right.
Oh, I'm building this. What are you doing today? Oh, I got to fucking whatever, you know?
Right.
And I've got some great relationships. You know, I've got some great friendships, and none of them are you know, like these seething, selfish, like manipulative. I don't have any of that toxicity in my life today. It's
great.
You know, like just keeps getting better. And I mean, if that's not a God working in my life, I don't know what is. You know,
Right. Amen to that.
so here we are, and I'm just gonna keep doing this one day at a time. You know, and keep coming around and trying to share the message the way it was shared to me.
Yeah,
you know. Other than that, I think that's
Fuck yeah,
all I
dude.
got,
Hey,
man.
thank you, brother. I really appreciate you coming on here, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Fuck yeah, man. Like I said, you're a pretty fucking good dude, man, and I just love how you emphasize that one day at a time, how fucking important that really is.
Dude. It's crucial, you know. Otherwise, fucking, you get overwhelmed and you go, fuck that. You
Right.
know? I'm gonna go pick up. You know.
Yeah.
Just one more time, right?
Right. I can do it.
With all that fetty out there, man, you might not get that one more time.
Yeah.
That might be your last time.
That's it.
But you know,
That is very true. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much again, brother.
thank you.
Appreciate you.